Okay, so that looks a little too big, and also it's doing this weird overlapping thing here. So what's going on with that? Now, if you haven't run into this before, it can be a little hard to figure out what the solution is. You might start by doing a search in Google for overlapping element, maybe padding causing overlapping, or extending beyond the bounds of the container element. But eventually what you'll figure out is that we're using a different value for the display CSS property. So what we want to do is change the display. Let's do a quick search in Google for CSS display, and let's go to the CSS display property in W3 Schools. Now, if we scroll down, we can look at the property values. Now, inline is the default, so it displays an element as an inline element, like span, or in our case, like an A tag. As we string together additional A tags, they appear right next to one another, in line. And if we had a smaller browser screen, they would cascade onto the next line, just like our text does here. Okay, so that's what we have right now. Another common value is block. Now we've seen that certain tags have this style by default. So divs, section tags, header tags, footer tags, they all have display block by default. And the obvious thing that does is it stretches that element all the way across the page. But what it doesn't say here is that it also affects how the padding works. So if we went back to our example and we changed the display for this element, I'm right here in this A tag, and I'll change the element style so we don't change anything permanently in our files, and we'll set the display to block. You can see that our padding here now bumps against the padding in the container, and we see the full container padding as well. Now that's what we want for that, but we don't want this element to stretch all the way across the screen. So what are our options for that? Well, if you go back over here, one of the next options is something called inline block. And what this description says basically is that we get the benefits of a block in how the padding works and such, but the block itself is inline. So if we go back to our example and we change the display here to inline block, we get that benefit of the padding affecting the container element, but it also doesn't stretch all the way across the screen.